memorize my speech. So I had to bring notes along. Now you're probably wondering what an elegant, refined woman like me is doing at the Yippie Museum. Now, as you know, in museums around the countries where ladies volunteer, it's usually because their husband is on the board of directors. And that's the case for me. My boyfriend is on the board of directors here at the Yippie Museum. Now, I'd like to start by telling you a little bit about the building that we're in. It's hold on. It's a Renaissance Revival building built in 1884 by an architect named Frederick C. Withers. And it's in the NoHo East Historic District, something that Dan Reardon in the back can tell you about because he's an expert on historical architectural issues. He's from the National Architectural Trust. Thank you for coming. Now, this back section where I am right now, in 1893 it was added, a one-story section, you see, with the arched ceiling here and the wrought iron. This is original, very beautiful, from 1893. Now, oops, I almost skipped ahead. The building was originally built for commercial purposes. It stored cigar boxes, cigar labels. It's been fur businesses. It was a trucking company until 1960, and then in 1966, Patrick Furfo made this the production center for Pablo's Lights, which was a light show at the Fillmore East. And in 1967, Abby Hoffman held meetings here with the Tribal Council, which is a predecessor of other Yippie publications. And in 1973, this became the unofficial headquarters for the Yippies, and it's still that today.
The 60s are gone. Dope will never be as cheap. Sex never is free, and the rock and roll never is good.
This is Pedro Rosado. He's my assistant, and he's also a font of Yippie aphorisms. Now, as you know, an aphorism is an expression of a general truth in a succinct sentence, and Yippies are masters of the aphorism. So the Yippie Museum was chartered in 2006 by the New York State Board of Regents, and it was established to maintain the museum relating to the history of the Yippies and other alternative movements from 1967 to the present day. And we're in a three-story building here. On the third floor, it's a private residence. They also house print archives there, and that's where the original office of the Yipster Times and Overthrow was located. Now, that is not open to the public. On the second floor, we have the Institute of Advanced Protest. They study great protests and especially focusing on Yippie protest techniques. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that later. Now, that floor is open by appointment only. Right now, we're on the first floor. This is the location of the Yippie Museum Cafe. There's a bookstore behind you, and this is where all the exhibits are currently housed. Now, the place is under construction, and we're hoping soon to open in the basement the Lenny Bruce Comedy Club.
Well, a modern revolutionary head for the television station.
True. Now, to my right here on stage is the original door of number 9. In March of 1982, this door, there was a bomb planted here, and this door was blown off the building, and 2 New York City police officers from the bomb squad were pretty seriously injured. Now, there's a lot of speculation about who planted the bomb, the mafia, Hank the Crank, Isla's boyfriend. Nobody knows. It's still, to this day, an unsolved case. Now, here is a nice, beautiful wooden statue. This comes from Gabon in Africa, and this is to symbolize the Yippie interest in ibogaine, which is an addiction interrupter found in the root of the iboga plant in Gabon. And if you'd like any more information about that, there's, I'm sure, some brochures in the back where there's other political information on the table. Now, this copy of the Soho News cover is the article Heroin Chic so enraged Dana Beale that he threw a cherry bomb into the garbage can in the offices of the Soho News and was then branded a terrorist bomb thrower. So now I think we better talk a little bit more about the Yippie protest techniques. So the Yippies were founded in 1967 by Abby Hoffman, Jerry Rubin, Paul Krasner, and others. And let's see. Oh, it's an anti-authoritarian, comedic, theatrical, political party. No formal membership or hierarchy. All right, now, they're also known for pranks, of course, like running a pig for president, like throwing dollar bills onto the floor of the stock exchange, like trying to levitate the Pentagon, and of course the Chicago 7 trial. Now, here on the wall, these two large pictures are taken by a man named Robert Altman, not the filmmaker, but a still photographer. You can find more of this stuff on the internet. Now this is on March 22nd, 1968. So last week was the 40th anniversary of this event, and it's the first Yippie. It's at Grand Central Terminal, and here on the right, you see these guys are the up-against-the-wall motherfuckers, and you can sort of read their sign right here. And they're changing the hands on the clock. And this so enraged the police that they attacked the crowd and had a violent police riot. And to this day, this clock still has no glass cover on it.
Now, Yippie is a hippie who got hit on the head by a policeman.
Now, as we've touched on, the Yippies have always been writers and publishers. Now, besides the famous Steal This Book by Abby Hoffman, they also published the Yipster Times here from 1973 to 1979, and then Overthrow from 1979 to 1989. Now, these are all covers from Overthrow. This is the very first one ever over here on the right. This is the very last Overthrow in 1989. And you have to check out some of the stories that were covered in these newspapers. It's really quite remarkable.
Yeah, once you got the image right, the details aren't that important.
Hang on, I can't get the page because of the gloves here. All right, now we're very lucky tonight to have some actual Yippies here with us tonight. Yay! That's right. We've got Paul Dubienzo here with the camera. He is a writer. He's traveled all over South and Central America. He wrote for Overthrow. He also produced many Rock Against Racism shows. He's the co-author of the Staten Island Project, which is about Ibogaine. We've got Evan Camp here, tour guide extraordinaire, New York City historian with an expertise in downtown counterculture and especially the Yippies. And you can ask any of these guys questions after the tour. You can ask me if you have any questions. And you're probably thinking to yourself right now, yeah, that's a lot of guys, but what about Yippie women? Huh? Are there any Yippie women?
What about Yippie women?
Well, there are Yippie women. There are Yippie women. Anita Hoffman coined the term the Youth International Party. Upstairs we have a garden that's named after Isla Rogers and Ilya Hoffman. And of course, there's one way to know that there's a lot of Yippie women, and that's because there's a lot of Yippie children. Yippie men like to have children. But Yippies are very open-minded, and they do date and marry non-Yippie people. So if you're interested. Now here on the back wall, this is a mural by a woman named Anne Duncan. And this depicts the Yippie flag. It's on two pieces of 4x8 plywood screwed to the wall. The black is for anarchism, the red star for socialism, the marijuana leaf. Hey, that's for Simon, guys. Come on. All right, now another trademark of Yippie culture is conflict. Now nobody wants to be enemies with the Yippies because in a conflict the Yippies react with humor and ridicule. They often upset their opponents so much, enrage them to such a degree that they hoist themselves on their own petard. Now, besides conflict with straight people, the mainstream, uptight people, Yippies are also famous for internal conflicts. And I'm telling you, they've got a long, long, long history of internal conflict. Now, right here, we have a picture with Abby Hoffman, Meyer Vishner, and Tom Prasad, founder of High Times magazine. they're at a press conference. You see the microphones here, and they're announcing the results of a decision made by a revolutionary court to decide about the publishing rights to steal this book.
The only way to support a revolution is to make your own.
All right, now when you leave, if you can, peek into the bookstore. You'll see an original Peter Max. It's called Sunrise 2000. It has an inscription to the Yippie Museum. Oops.
Sorry.
And also, when you leave the building, be sure and look back at the building. You'll see the original Yipster Times sign still on the building. Now, we can ask questions afterwards of me or any of the Yippies. Now, Pedro's passing out the mini Yippie kit that I've prepared to give out to you guys tonight. We'll pass a few over this way. And the box is made from the poster for this year's event. It's the Marijuana March all over the world, May 3rd. All right, inside the box is a kit. It's to bring out the Yippie in you. We've got in there the Ziploc bag with a wet paper towel. That's Gabe's mom's ghetto Yippie gas mask. So if you're at a demonstration and people start throwing tear gas, you can put that over your face. Or if you mind tonight, you could just wipe the table before you go because, you know, we do not have a janitorial staff here. Also in the box, we've got peace sign buttons. That's because the Yippies have been at every peace march since the 1960s. Also a marijuana sticker. Stick it around somewhere. Let's get that marijuana consciousness all over the world, please. Okay, let's see. There's a small American flag in there. You can burn it or you can wear it. Both are Yippie, but please don't burn it in here. There's no smoking allowed. And finally, there's a pie. Now that's in honor of Aaron Kay, the pie man, who has thrown pies at politicians and figures all over. Now, as anyone who knows him, there's a point where Aaron decided he was going to start eating the pies instead of throwing them. So you can eat them or you can throw them. Just don't throw them in here, please. Pedro, we're ready for the pies.
Okay.
Okay, now, I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the evening. I hope you'll be back to visit the Yippie Museum sometime really soon. Okay. Have a pie, please.
Throw it or eat it?
There's a list to eat or to throw. Please help yourself.
Well, folks, we do have coffee, tea, and so
That's right. We've got
Fresh ginger beer.
Come right up to the bar and order. We do not have a wait staff, but we do have a pie.
Are we done yet?
Yeah, we're done.
Yippee!
Okay, boys and girls, we're back.